Hey everyone, welcome back. This is The Drummer. This is Space City Comics and Collectibles. It's been quite a while since I've done a video, but we're back and hoping to have more up coming into 2022 as it's the end of 2021. Today, this video is not about comic books, but about sports cards. Comics were my first collecting interest when I was a kid, but I got into sports cards in kind of the late 80s, what they call the junk wax era, early 90s. And at the time, I could never afford a lot of the rookies from the 1980s, a lot of my favorite players. So I started this project quite a while back. It was about 2012 of picking up some graded rookie cards of guys that I'd never had. I finally finished this recently, picking up my last card, which we will get to, and wanted to show them all off. I thought this would be the end of this journey, although I've recently decided I'm going to upgrade, if you want to call it that, and switch over the cards that are not graded PSA to PSA. So not sending them in, but picking up PSA graded ones, and I'll move these other ones. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it. And I've also written up a few stats on each player as we go through the list. So here we go. First up, and this is going to be in reverse order from newest to oldest time frame. Okay, so 1989-90. o-pee-chee Joe Sakic. All of these are o-pee-chee cards. I prefer them to Topps. They are the Canadian version, and I'm originally from Canada. So here's Joe Sakic. Joe Sakic was my favorite player after Mario Lemieux retired. Excuse me. He has 2 Stanley Cups in 1996 and 2001. He was the 1996 Conn Smythe Trophy winner, which is the MVP for the playoffs. He won the Hart Trophy as the league's most valuable player in 2001. And he is number 9 on the all-time points list. Although interestingly, and we'll see this for a few players, he never won the league scoring title, as for like 20 years, that was basically won by Gretzky, Lemieux, or Jaromir Jagr. So never won the single season scoring title, but is number 9 on the all-time points list. And he was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2012. Next up, we have Joe Nieuwendyk. Joe Nieuwendyk won 3 cups with Calgary in 1989, Dallas in 1999, and New Jersey in 2003. He was the 1999 Conn Smythe winner. He was the 1988 Calder Trophy winner, which is for the NHL's Rookie of the Year, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011. Next up, we have Pierre Turgeon. Turgeon doesn't have a lot of standout stats. He never won a cup, never won any major trophies. He does have 1,327 total points in 1,294 games, which is the most of anyone that is not in the Hall of Fame. That also included him scoring 515 goals in his career. So does he ever get into the Hall? Probably not, if they haven't put him in at this point. He was a really good player, and he had a stretch where he was quite good, but maybe not great. Here's a great one. Brett Hull, son of Bobby Hull. He won the Stanley Cup 2 times with Dallas in 1999 and Detroit in 2002. He was the 1991 MVP of the league. He also led the league in goals, which nowadays is called the Maurice Richard Trophy, 3 times, and he finished with 741 goals, which is the 5th most all time, and he was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2009. We have next Brendan Shanahan. Shanahan won 3 cups, all with Detroit in 1997, 98, and 2002. He has 656 goals, which is 14th all-time in the NHL, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. Adam Oates. Adam Oates led the league in assists 3 times, and he is 8th all-time in total assists, and he's 18th in total points. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012. When we used to draft fantasy sports, my friends and I, you'd always say, I mean, if you took Oates, you knew you would be right up there in assists. We used to say you could put him on a line with a ham sandwich, and the ham sandwich would score 50 goals. Next up's Luc Robitaille. Robitaille won 1 cup with Detroit in 2002. He was the 1987 Rookie of the Year. He has 668 goals, which is 13th all-time and 22nd all-time in total points. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009. Our first goalie, although not one of super standout, is John Van Beesbroek. He had a good career. He won the 1986 Vezina Trophy as the league's top goaltender, but never actually got back to like those heights. He was just kind of solid. It's really interesting looking over the Hall of Fame list, how few goalies are actually in the Hall of Fame. There are a lot of guys that are really good for short stretches, but maintaining that over an entire career is quite hard in the NHL. But we follow him up with easily one of the best. Some people would say the best, although I don't. Patrick Waugh. He won 4 Stanley Cups in 1986 and 1993 with Montreal. And then after he was traded to the Colorado Avalanche, he won in 1996 and 2001. He won the Conn Smythe as the playoffs MVP in 86, 93, and 2001. He won the Vezina Trophy as the top goaltender 3 times. He has 551 wins, which is the 2nd most all-time, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006. Next up is Wendell Clark. Another guy that's not a standout performer, but I'm from Toronto, and Wendell Clark was the captain for the Maple Leafs when I was really starting to become aware and follow things more. He was the first pick in the 1985 draft. He was a solid player, really, really popular with the fans. You know, a lot of guys will tell you that he was their favorite player when they were growing up, but not a standout in the stats. And then we'll follow him up with a guy who certainly was. This is my favorite player of all time, Mario Lemieux. Won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1991 and 92. He won the Conn Smythe as the MVP both years. He was the 1985 Rookie of the Year. 3 times he won the league MVP. 6 times he won the league scoring title. 3 times he led the league in goals scored. He has 690 goals, which is 11th all-time. He has the 8th most points all-time. And if you follow hockey at all, you know that Lemieux, he retired twice. He ended up coming back, but then retired again. Struggled with a lot of injuries in his career. He has a points per game average of 1.883 points per game. Wayne Gretzky is the only guy ahead of him who has a points per game of 1.921. So very close between the two of them. If Lemieux had been able to stay healthy and play more, it would have been interesting to see where he would have ended up with total points. He was actually inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1997, immediately after his first retirement, and then came back to the game. So he was an actively playing Hall of Famer. Next up, defenseman Al MacInnis. He won 1 Stanley Cup in 1989 with the Calgary Flames and won the Conn Smythe Trophy. He was the 1999 Norris Trophy winner, which is for the league's best defenseman. and has the third most overall points for all defensemen in the league. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007. And that's my first upgrade card I currently have coming, actually, is a PSA version of McInnes. Here's another pretty good one. Steve Yzerman won 3 cups with Detroit in 1997, 98, and 2002. He was the 1998 Conn Smythe winner. He has 692 goals, which is 10th all time, and he has the 7th most points ever in the league, although, interestingly, never led the league in goals scored or assists or points for a season, but 7th most points all time. He was the Detroit Red Wings captain for 19 years, which is the longest of anyone in pro sports. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009. Next up, we have Dave Andreychuk. He won 1 cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2004, has 640 goals, which is 15th all time, and inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. If you're a baseball guy and you follow like home runs, 600 goals for the NHL is pretty impressive. So, I mean, 500 is pretty impressive, but if you hit 600, that's a big number in hockey. Here's another goalie, Tom Barrasso. He won 2 cups with the Penguins in 91 and 92. He was the 1984 Rookie of the Year and won the 1984 Vezina. But again, besides that and winning the cups, he was never really like a super great standout guy. Obviously, those Penguins teams were very, very good offensively, led by Mario Lemieux. Next up, another defenseman, Chris Chelios. Chelios has 3 Stanley Cups, 1986 with Montreal and 2002 and 2008 with Detroit. He won the Norris Trophy as the top defenseman 3 times and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. Next, we have Pat LaFontaine. Another guy who doesn't have many trophies, big trophies, or crazy stats, but he finished with 468 goals. He was 17th all time in goals per game average. His career was shortened by injuries. The last 5 years, he had 3 years where the number of games played were 16, 22, and 13 out of an 82 game season. So definitely could have, as a guy that had to retire young, could have put up bigger numbers without injuries. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2003. Next, we have Doug Gilmour. Gilmour was definitely a favorite of mine when I was young, as he was also on the Maple Leafs. He has 1 Stanley Cup, 1989 with Calgary. He's number 19 all-time in points, which actually surprised me a little bit that he was that high. But he had a long and productive career and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011. Next is Cam Neely. This is another guy whose career was shortened drastically by injuries. He had 344 goals scored in 525 games, which is 15th in average. His last 5 seasons in the league, he played 9, 13, 49, 42, and 49 games. In 93-94, which was one of those seasons, he scored 50 goals in 49 games. And the rest of the year he was injured. So he retired at only 31 years old, where a lot of these guys played, started playing at 18, played until they were 38 to 40. They all have 20-year careers. So Neely is a guy that could have finished with way higher stats. but played a really bruising style power forward and had those injuries. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005. Next up is Phil Housley, another defenseman. No cups, no Norris trophies, but he was a good scorer, more so in assists, which is like a lot of the defensemen. He's number 4 all-time in points for defensemen. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. And here another defenseman, Scott Stevens. Stevens won 3 cups in 1995, 2000, and 2003, all with the New Jersey Devils. He won the Conn Smythe as the MVP of the playoffs in 2000 and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007. So I think I'm going to stop it there for the first, that's actually 2/3, and we'll finish the other third in another video. Thanks for watching. Please come back and watch the next version as we go through some of the older guys as we continue through the 80s. Thanks for watching. Take care.